72 days on a glacier in the Andes, 2.5 months in the cruelest environment known to man, surrounded by death and desolation, with no food, little clothing, and few options. Nando Parrado and his teammates did not choose their fate, but neither were they defeated by it. Theirs is a story of second chances, of rebirth and redemption on the roof of South America.
It was a story of survival. It was a fantastic physical effort to get out of there and to fight every single day against the cold, the hunger, the fear, everything.
The story of their 1972 plane crash high in the Andes first came to the public's attention in 1973 in Piers Paul Reed's book, Alive. Then, in a movie with the same title 20 years later.
I could listen to them, I could hear them.
Now, after 34 years, Nando Parrado has finally written his book, Miracle in the Andes, 72 Days on the Mountain, and My Long Trek Home. It is the only book written as a first-person account of the ordeal.
I had 2 jeans on, I had a shirt, 2 t-shirts, and a sweater, and that was my climbing equipment.
Response has been overwhelmingly positive and has brought renewed interest to the timeless tale of tragedy and triumph. Miracle in the Andes debuted at number 10 on the New York Times bestseller list, and Nando has become a highly sought-after speaker for corporate and association events.
As a businessman, bringing Nando to speak to management teams, employees, and frankly their families is a tremendous gift. Because Nando's story is one of incredible courage, incredible leadership, incredible passion for just fundamental survival. And we all have these fundamental experiences in business, not around, daily survival, but in terms of driving our businesses forward and our careers forward and providing for our families. Thank you.
Audiences understand what a unique opportunity it is to hear Nando in person. The demand for speaking engagements now far exceeds the number he can accept.
I think that audiences are surprised when they hear Nando speak. They're expecting an adventure story or maybe another mountain story. But instead, what they get is this amazing story about leadership, teamwork, courage, and family. And I believe that it leaves a very powerful impression on each audience member for a very individual and personal reason.
Nando's first-hand account of what happened in the Andes is filled with warmth, emotion, and lessons relevant to today's audiences. His themes of leadership, teamwork, family, and managing change are personal, yet universal in their appeal.
One day I was studying math in my room. 48 hours later, I was surviving like an animal at 11,000 feet on a glacier. That's change.
It's a story of a unique group of individuals that overcame almost insurmountable odds. And it's a story of how they grew together almost as if a family and shared experiences and all worked towards a common goal and objective. And that is something we can all learn from and is very relevant in today's business world.
How many of you have heard about leadership, teamwork, facing crisis, facing change, planification, strategy? All those things are perfect. I think all of you as marketing executives have to use these tools always, to be self-confident, to have leadership, to believe in yourself. All these things are fantastic. We achieved excellence in each one of those subjects without having a previous theory or practice.
Survival depended on the success or failure of Nando's trek out of the mountains with close friend Roberto Canessa. They are the only 2 people who can tell this story in its entirety. Nando, after losing his mother and sister in the crash, and after surviving the fracture of his skull, led the expedition out. For 10 days, they alone faced insurmountable odds in an unforgiving environment.
We're gonna die now, but if we die, we're gonna die walking.
It is still one of the great expeditions of modern times, on a par with the great mountaineers and explorers throughout history.
I'd say that the most apt comparison to Nando in terms of explorers in the history of the world would be Shackleton. I think that people would love to have the opportunity to sit down with Shackleton and ask him about his adventures, but that time's come and gone. Today, in the 21st century, Shackleton's closest comrade in terms of courage, in terms of leadership, and in terms of passion just to survive has to be Nando Parrado.
The limits of endurance are far greater than I thought a human being could have.
His is an extraordinary story of staggering loss and unimaginable hardship. But the will to live, the power of hope, and the love of family turned tragedy into a miracle in the Andes. Nando is an excellent speaker choice for all audiences. He speaks 6 languages fluently. He is CEO of several companies in Uruguay and speaks only on a limited basis.
This story is not fake. This story is real. And when you're faced in your life with something that puts you to the test, when you're trapped and abandoned to die, the terms here of action and inaction are measured in the terms of life and death. But it's not life and death of some people that you read about or some people you see. It's your life and death. It's yours. So the decisions are terribly difficult. And in these decisions, you are confronted with a predicament of finding if you are reduced to the worst of yourself or you are elevated to the best of yourself. And this happened to everybody. Sometimes reduced to the worst a human being can be, sometimes elevated like angels. We didn't have a compass. We didn't have the closest idea where we were. The only thing we knew was that where the sun sets is the west, and that to the west there's a country called Chile. But according to the time the plane had flown and the speed, we calculated that we were very close to Chile. But nobody looks through the window and knows the direction a plane is flying, usually. And the plane had flown south and then turned west. And all that time that the plane had flown south, we calculated it had flown west. So instead of being near Chile, we were at the beginning of the Andes in Argentina, about 80 miles from where we thought we were. We had fought so many times against death. I mean, with the avalanche, with the crash, traversing crevasses, fighting the cold, wondering why the cold or the avalanche killed other guys and didn't kill us. We saw death so many times face to face, and we're seeing it once again. And this is very important for me to share with you, because the decision I took there, it took me less than 30 seconds, shaped everything in my life. I decided the way I was going to die. I said, Roberto, I don't want to die here looking at your eyes, sitting down. I won't jump from this cliff. I will die attempting to cross these mountains. I will die of exhaustion, so when I die, I don't notice that I'm dead. I'm going now. And he said, you're my friend, I'm going to die with you. There's no limits to what you can do. There's no limits to get into a summit. When you think that you're at the end, you have just started. That's only the first step. When you think you can't do anything more, there's so much inside each one of you that's absolutely impossible to know until you test yourselves till the end. Try it. You have your lives. Keep on relying on your companions, on the people who work with you. Be unselfish. Follow also your heart in your decisions, not always your mind. Your heart is very important. Not only on a personal basis, but in business also, your heart must be followed. And besides teamwork, decision, leadership, there must be a little space for love also, because my father always tells me, I wish I had told your mother all the things I had to tell her and I didn't have time. So if you love someone, please tell them that you love them a lot.